Up, guys? The Bench Buddies are back with our Week 17 Top 25 college basketball rankings. Lots of losses to all the AP teams and our ranking teams as well last week. But before we get into the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button, as you don't want to miss out on all of our college basketball content coming up. And to be entered into our giveaway at 100 subscribers, it'll be an autographed item. But make sure you're subscribed to be entered into that. So let's get right into it. And here we got the others receiving votes. Yes, we skipped the others that dropped out because nobody dropped out of our rankings this week. But Michigan State, Iowa, I mean, they could both be vying for that 26th spot right now. And all these teams, are earning the respect of being up here as well, as we got South Dakota State making their first appearance here. A team that's won 18 in a row going into their conference tournament this week. Notre Dame, very consistent in the ACC, one game behind Duke. So they'll be there if they slip up. But then you got the Colorado State Rams, who have been ranked before. And going into that, I think that, it's a very up in the air conference out there in the Mountain West, as we still got some teams ranked in the Mountain West. But Ty, which one of these teams is kind of the most interesting team here?
I'd say the ones that can make deep runs are Michigan State and Iowa, teams that could lose in the first round or go to the Elite Eight. Michigan State has Tom Izzo, and Iowa has Keegan Murray. That kind of speaks for itself. But got to give the props to South Dakota State. We got them on there this week. 18-0 in conference play, speaks for itself. 27-4 this year. And that's a conference with Oral Roberts in it, if you guys forgot about them. That's a good team. So shout out to the Jackrabbits.
25th. We got the Alabama Crimson Tide, and last week, one of the teams that didn't lose in our rankings, but they didn't move up as well because of that 19-10 record. First team with double digits ranked still. And I think what kind of hurts them right now is they're going to be a 5 seed more than likely in the SEC tournament, and that's not going to be a favorable game, the first game or even the second game as well. So they could be an early exit there in the SEC. But nonetheless, I think it's just because of the competitive nature of the SEC. And this team will probably still get into March Madness just because of that.
And we got Boise State at 24 here. AP poll isn't giving them the respect that we are, but this is a really good team. They just had a good win last week or 2 weeks ago now over Colorado State on the road or at home. Now they play them on the road. But they beat San Diego State this week. So they're taking care of the top teams in an underrated Mountain West. And I feel like no one's really talked about them. I feel like a lot more people are talking about Colorado State than Boise State or Wyoming as well. But this is the best team in the conference right now. So I don't think it's a team anyone really wants to see in March. They play great defense. It says right here, not great at moving the ball on offense. 367th in the nation in assists per game.
23rd, we got the Ohio State Buckeyes. 2-1 last week. First 2 wins of the week were amazing. I don't think a lot of people saw winning both of them. How do you respond by losing at Maryland? But if they would have won all 3 this week, they probably would have made a jump around top 15 just because of all the losses that happened this week. But how do you finish? You have 2 home games against both Michigan schools. And, those aren't going to be some easy games when people come into your place, because both of those teams are going to be needing those wins against you. And I think a 1-1 record this week doesn't matter really which game they win and which game they lose, because they're kind of the same. But if they can get some wins there, it's going to benefit their resume and potentially their seeding in the Big Ten as well, as they still have an outside shot of winning it, but it probably won't happen.
All right, we got Illinois with a drop to 22. Tough loss at home against Ohio State. And they're just very inconsistent for whatever reason. Some games they look great. At Michigan, they shot out of their minds. They shot 71% in the second half, which is insane. And if they can get performances like that from guys other than Coburn, then they're a potential Final Four team. But if they play like they did on Thursday against Ohio State, they're a team that could struggle in March. So it could go either way, but they need more consistency.
21st, you got the Texas Longhorns, and the team that needs more consistency as well as them. 2 tough games this week. Number 4 Baylor, number 7 Kansas. Never easy when you got to close the regular season with 2 top 10 teams. So 1-1 is an exceptional week for them this week, no doubt. But the one thing that worries me about this team is, yes, I know Chris Beard and company, they play great defense, but then again, they also don't score as well. So if they have a bad defensive matchup or superstars on the other side. It's not going to look good for them to keep up. So if they're going to be playing a team here in the first round of March Madness that's a high scoring team, they definitely could get upset.
All right, UConn is staying put here at number 20. A lot of this is because teams around them were winning big games. I know they had the big win over Villanova, and then obviously they beat Georgetown because everyone beats Georgetown. But they are a sleeper team in March. They're another team like Alabama. They could lose in the first round, but they could also make a run to the Elite Eight, in my opinion. So they're a team to watch out for sure. They have some star power. But they have some games where they really struggle to score. So if they can limit that, that's what can lead them to make a deep run.
At 19th, we've got the St. Mary's Gales, and they did it. They beat Gonzaga last week at their place. And it really wasn't, game, honestly. They kind of took it to them in the first half. They're up 15. They came back a little in the second half, but really halted any run late that they were going to have. And this week they got the conference tournament, so more than likely playing Gonzaga again. And that's why we have only team that can beat Gonzaga in the conference tournament down there, I think. So if they get matched up with them again, I don't see it happening because neutral site, Gonzaga's going to be pissed off because that's their only loss in a long time. But give them credit as they're going to be a tournament team no matter what happens this week.
We got Murray State, another mid-major here at number 18. This team, I just do not know what to think about them. So just look at this week. They dominate Belmont, who was not quite a bubble team, but a good team. They beat them by almost 30, I think. And then they really struggled with Southeast Missouri State. They should have probably lost that game. They pull it out on the road. But props to them. The good teams they play, they dominate. And the terrible teams they play, they struggle with. So they kind of play down to their competition for whatever reason. But they've won 19 games in a row. That's really impressive. They're 28-2. I believe that is the best record in all of college basketball out of any team. So got to give them props for that. So I don't think any one seed wants them on the 8-9 seed line in March Madness.
17th, we've got the Houston Cougars. 2 wins this week, but they're falling a little bit just because of some other teams that really deserve to be up higher than them right now. They got that revenge win against SMU. But how do you close out the season? A tough game at Memphis, which is going to be, a game that you're going to look at for bubble seeding and seeing kind of where everyone's going to fall as well. Because if Memphis can get this win, no doubt in my mind that they're going to be probably one of the, not the last 4 in, but right above that, but still in that bubble conversation. And that's going to be a huge win for them if they can get it. But nonetheless, this Houston team is no doubt in. And I think if they get a matchup, in the conference tournament or even in March Madness where they're getting someone that can score from the guard position, that's going to be a big question mark if they can defend that.
We got UCLA at 16, taking a drop with their loss at Oregon. And then 2 easy games, obviously, Arizona State and Oregon State. This week they go to Washington and they get USC at home. 2 winnable games, but they could definitely lose one of those. They just need another team that's not consistent right now. They're 5-4 in their last 9 games. And they're a team, not only they could lose in the first round, but they could also make it almost to the national championship. The Elite Eight is not quite their ceiling. Just judging off last season. So a lot of things that could go wrong or right for them in March. I have no idea where I'm picking them in my bracket, but good luck figuring out this team.
15th, we got the Wisconsin Badgers. 2 wins last week. Deserve to move up 2 spots as well. After some good games last week, escaped, I guess you could say, because both of them were road games, beat Minnesota by 1 and at Rutgers, a very hot team, by 5. But now Rutgers has 3 losses in a row, so they've kind of fallen back down to earth. They're playing Purdue this week, which is going to be a huge game for them, not only for the rankings, but Big Ten as well. And they finished this week with Nebraska, which should be an easy win.
All right, Arkansas continues to surge. We got them here at 14. Good road win at Florida, and then obviously a great home win over number 10 Kentucky to really propel this team into the top 15. Now they're pretty much right back where we thought they would be at the start of the season, which is a top 10, top 15 caliber team. And, they're really competitive. They're a team that could definitely win the SEC tournament if the draw goes the way that they need it to. And if they can beat Tennessee, I think they definitely have a chance to get even off of the 4 or 5 line. This could even be a 3 seed in March if they stay hot.
13th, we've got Tennessee Volunteers. huge win last week against Auburn, but they're only moving up 3 here because, more teams have been kind of doing the same thing around this line. Lots of upsets as we saw last week. And they got at Georgia, number 14 Arkansas coming in their place. So 2 as the hottest teams in the SEC are playing in the last game of the year. And we've kind of been dogging on them a little bit here, but they have been very consistent in getting hot at the right time. So this team definitely could be a sleeper team come March. They're sitting around that 5-6 line. So they could get some favorable matchups and make a Sweet 16 run.
All right, Kentucky dropping down to the top 10. It's not a great loss against Arkansas. I know they're a good team, but Kentucky finally got healthy. They got Ty Washington and Xavier Wheeler back, and still couldn't come out of that game with a win. So they got to get themselves figured out before the SEC tournament. They should take care of business with Ole Miss, but going to Florida could be tough. If they can get through that with a win, then they're definitely the most dangerous team out of the SEC, in my opinion. And they just got to get healthy, stay healthy, and get back to the team we saw that went into Kansas and dominated.
And at 11, we got the Villanova Wildcats. Only 1 game last week, and they lost at UConn. So they're only moving down 2 here because there's more chaos that happens. And this week, they got Providence. Already beat them once. Let's see if they can beat them twice, but they can't win the Big East. But if they win 1 more game, they do get the 2 seed in the Big East. Definitely give this Wildcat team some props for being 21-7. And those losses really haven't correlated to what we've seen them play for the last 3-4 months because those losses were early.
All right, Texas Tech comes in at number 10 after their loss to TCU. Not a terrible loss. It's a good team that was on the bubble and really needed that win. But this week they have Kansas State and Oklahoma State. They need to win both of those to build some momentum going into the Big 12 tournament. They're definitely a team that could win that tournament, and I think they could make a really deep run in March. They have a lot of pieces to do that, but they just need to limit the games where they're scoring in the low 60s. That's not always going to get it done. You can't always rely on your defense to get wins when you get into March. So they got to figure out some more scoring.
At 9, we got the USC Trojans. Won 2 games this week. Very close games. And as you can see down there, won the last 3 by a total of 6 points. So this team's squeaking out some wins and scraping by. And how do you, respond? How's your week going to go this week against 2 top 20 teams? You get one of them at home though, which is always good. And we get to see what USC is made of. Is that 25-4 record really legit? Or is, they have fraud and going to be 25-6 after this week? So definitely put up or shut up time this week for USC.
We got Providence making their jump to number 8. 2 home wins to clinch the Big East championship. So this week they go to Villanova, and I'm a little worried for them for that game. They just worked so hard to get that championship, and now they already won it. So it feels like they already accomplished their goals for the regular season. So I'm a little worried about their motivation going into this Villanova game here. They've already clinched it outright, so it really doesn't matter at all for the Big East standings. But either way, they are another team that could easily lose in the first round in March or make a deep run. Lucky for them, they played 12 5-point games and won 11 of them. So if it comes down to close games in the tournament, they've been there plenty of times before and won those games. So they won't panic.
At 7, we got the Kansas Jayhawks. Tough game at Baylor, so that's why they're dropping down a spot here. But they got 2 games against TCU this week. Should win both of those, but we did see TCU just upset Texas Tech, so you never know. But they get to pretty much play very depleted Texas team now. As you mentioned in our other video, a student transferring, his dad kind of calling Texas out. So they're kind of a whirlwind right now. But I don't know, this Kansas team could be shaky at times, but we have seen them play really good defense. So when that's the case, they blow teams out. It's not really a game. But if they do win all 3 of these games, they are the Big 12 champion by themselves. But if they lose, then it might be a different story. but definitely a team that still could make a deep run here for March.
All right, Auburn falls from 3-6 with their loss to Tennessee. And this team, their last few road games, has really struggled. They've won a few of them, but either way, they are struggling to score the ball. 3-3 in their last 6, and they're playing a little too much hero ball in these close games, and it's not working for them. Not enough ball movement on offense, and it's been hurting them. So this week, Mississippi State on the road is no gimme, but if they can win both of those games, they'll clinch the SEC outright. If they win one of them, they could share the championship. Either way, great season for Auburn. But there are some question marks now as we head into March and stuff they got to get figured out.
At 5, we got the Purdue Boilermakers losing a heartbreaker at Michigan State. Pretty much at the buzzer, you could say. This week, they got to go on the road at Wisconsin, and then always a tough game versus rival Indiana. So not 2 easy games that they were hoping to get at the beginning of the year to close the year. But I think this team will probably go 1-1 at worst. They're definitely going to win one of these games this week after that tough loss at Michigan State. And if they go 2-0, I think the Big Ten is theirs to lose in the tournament as well, because if they can go in there with a little bit of momentum, and be able to, score a lot of points like we've seen, there's no doubt in my mind that they can easily run the table there. Right now, we got to see how they do this week, and we'll assess that next week.
All right, Baylor with the jump back into the top 5. And this team, just every time you start questioning them a little bit, they get right back on track. It seems like they had their 2 losses earlier in the season in 1 week, bounced right back, got 2 big wins, and they do that again this week. Obviously, missing Chama Chachua at center is big. But Flo Thamba, the new center, stepped right in and played a great game against Kansas down the stretch. And they just made a lot of winning plays to win that game. So they're still one of the top 5 teams easily in the country, and a team that could still win the national championship. But this week, if they can get through Texas and then beat Iowa State, they just need Kansas to lose one of their 3 games this week, and they would split the Big 12 championship. So still a lot to play for Baylor. And if they can go 2-0 this week, look for them to get on the 1 line.
At 3, we got the Duke Blue Devils moving up 2 spots, thanks in part to everyone losing. But it was 2 tough games on the road at Virginia and at Syracuse. But the at Syracuse game was more like an absolute obliteration since the tip. Not even close. Syracuse didn't show up in the last time that Boeheim and Coach K would be playing each other, assuming they don't play each other in the tournament. But they win one of these next 2 games. They are the ACC champion, at least earn a share of it. And it is sad to say it will be Coach K last game against UNC in Cameron, and his last game at Cameron as well. So definitely going to want to tune in and see the environment there, and wouldn't want to miss that. Give this Duke team for being this good, especially in Coach K's last year. So he's not going out on a sour note, definitely going out on a high note, at least for the regular season.
All right, well, Arizona thankfully stays at 2 if you're an Arizona fan, because everyone else lost. The whole top 6 lost this week. So it really just overshadows what was a complete dud of a performance against Colorado, who isn't even a bubble team. They're like a borderline NIT team. Not a good loss there. They got absolutely dominated in the second half, but it's similar to their UCLA performance where we kind of started questioning them, and then they got right back on track. So I guess they're just due to have a couple games where they just lay an egg this year. I don't know if that's a great sign with March Madness looming, but that's how they've been. They have 2 or 3 really bad games this year and a lot of really good ones. So that's why they're still here at number 2. And if they can beat USC on the road, they should easily win the other 2 games and win the Pac-12. So they should still be locked into a 1 seed.
And at 1, of course, we still got to keep Gonzaga. First loss in the 2022 calendar year at St. Mary's, and they really weren't in this game since the tip. How are they going to respond is going to be the big question for this week's conference tournament. And obviously, they are still the best team in the country, as we still have them here at 1. Nothing to overreact to, because I think that was the game that, you and me talked about a month in advance that they would probably lose if they were to lose. And they did. But now it's a neutral site, and I think if they meet each other again in the tournament, I think you got to give it to Gonzaga. Is there no doubt going to be a 1 seed unless, something happens this week, a very bad loss. But they definitely should get at least 2 wins here in the conference tournament to remain at that 1.
Only 2, because the bracket is a joke in that conference.
That's right. They just get the the buys, and then they
Get
get
the triple
win
bye.
one, and then they get their championship. So yeah, they can win one game guaranteed, two. If they win two, then they're the champions. Really kind of almost steal a bid away as well. Technically, I guess you could say, because there's some bubble teams as well in the West Coast that need to get that win to get in. So really, either way you look at it, someone's going to be stealing a bid away in this conference tournament. But that's going to be it for our video today. If you liked it, hit that like button. Comment below what you guys think about our rankings and if you want to see something else. But make sure to hit that subscribe button to be entered into our giveaway at 100 subscribers for that autograph item. And you wouldn't want to miss our March Madness content coming up. But until the next time, the Bench Buddies are out.
She never called back.